Hello, today we will be doing a practice with pelvic floor and core. Really important for just foundation of all that we do to have strength and help us through so many daily activities. So if you have a yoga block, that would be great. If not, you could have like a stool or a chair to sit on, and then also a pillow or a bolster could be helpful as well. So grab your things and join me for your practice. We use it, but we're gonna do a little pelvic floor and core today. So let's just start seated, relax, shoulders down, close eyes if that feels comfortable, and just exhale fully. Naturally, your body will take an inhale. Exhale when you're ready. Through your mouth or whatever, just kind of feel like you're just checking in, noticing, releasing tension, just in these couple breaths where you can. And then when it feels right, we're gonna start to move in torso circles. You can keep eyes closed if you'd like, or open them and just start to move in a way of getting curious about what's in the body today and how can I release some of that tension. This kind of connects us to our core and pelvic floor area a little bit. And then when it feels right, reverse directions. Yeah, and no worries about the circle, just noticing. Maybe you'll notice stuff in back, shoulders, and just pause, move, stretch wherever you need to. Awesome. Take a breath to finish up. Come back to center. Relax. Shoulders down. Close eyes once more. Here in the studio, we can hear there's like a bird's nest outside, so we get to hear birds chirping. Inhale, reach arms up. Exhale, bring one hand down to the side. Push in so both of your butt bones are on the ground. Inhale, reach tall, then over. Just stretching the side body here. Yeah, so just get where you can, where it feels comfortable, and you're stretching this without hiking that shoulder up by your ear. And then go ahead and turn down toward your mat. Reach your arm out in front of you. And then open up to the ceiling. Inhale, back up to center, over to the other side. Check in here, push both butt bones on the ground again. Inhale, reach tall, but shoulders plugged in, down, and then bend over. So just where can you feel that stretch in the side body? And then turn down toward the mat. And then open up to the ceiling. Inhale, back up to center. Exhale, sweep those arms down. Awesome. Here you're going to grab block if you have it, stool, chair, whatever. If you have a pillow and you want to fold that in half, and you're going to sit right on that. We will play around with a little pelvic floor stuff here. The pelvic floor often feels like this mysterious thing, right? And you're like, am I doing this right? Am I not? And the deal is it's actually like really subtle. It's muscles deep inside, so it shouldn't feel like our arm muscles are something where it's really intense. It's kind of like this tiny whisper, and your brain might be telling yourself, am I actually doing this or not? You are, if you're like, I'm wondering. So one way to kind of think of it is first pretend like you're sitting on whatever you're sitting on, like, oh my gosh, this is a big block of ice, and you're like, oh, it's cold, and you're still sitting, but you're kind of like lifting a little. So just play around with that feeling, and then like let it go, and you're like, I'm on a block of cold ice, ooh. It's just kind of this, feels like these muscles deep inside are coming up a little bit, and it's this tiny, tiny whisper. And then go ahead and let go. Another way Yes, embarrassingly enough, that they describe it as feel like you're holding in a fart. So you're like sitting and you're like, oh no, and holding that in, whatever the heck that means to you. Just different ways to explain stuff so your brain can kind of maybe get the gist. So we'll go ahead and let that go. And now we'll play around a little more with, a lot of people with pelvic floor will think like, oh, I have to strengthen it. I have to tighten it. But we want to learn to tighten it and also let go all the way. So we're going to pretend that there's kind of like a little elevator and play around with this. I'm sitting on a block of ice. Another way people have explained it is pretend you're like, your body is a straw and you're like slowly sucking up through that straw. So you feel like you're coming up just a tiny bit, like level 1 of an elevator, and level 2, and level 3, and there might be some levels where you're like, I can't go anymore, and maybe level 4, so now you're like really constricting, and then see if you can let it all go back down. Again, you're probably like, Christy, I'm not even sure if I'm doing this right. Everybody feels that way. It's tiny, subtle. So if you're imagining it, it's happening. So go ahead and do that again, the elevator. You feel like, oh, this is cold, come up just a little. Deep inside, feeling those muscles, maybe a little more, contracting. And then a little more, maybe all the way. And this time, instead of letting go all the way down, we're gonna play around with, can you go back down to the 3rd floor? And this isn't about can you actually do it, it's just the more you play around and practice, you'll get better. This is very hard for me, very hard for most of us, especially after we've had kids. Can you go down to the 2nd level and the 1st level, down to the ground floor, and just play around with that. So just to kind of get you that feel of the pelvic floor, I will tell you this is great practice for men too. This is our core pelvic floor, all related, our foundation in all of our movements. So we'll come off of the block for now. Played around with that a little bit, and we'll come to lying on our back. You can keep block or whatever next to you. First, bring feet nice and wide and arms out to your side, or cactus arms, and just windshield wiper those knees back and forth. Just a little releasing. Of course, as always, like when we are using another muscle, often we'll bring tension somewhere else without noticing. So just becoming aware of that and then kind of letting that go. And then knees back up to center. Bring feet back to hip distance, arms down alongside of you, and then bring your low back to the mat. So like your low back, your natural curve to your spine is that your hand could fit under there. So bring it down. So you're gonna tilt your pelvis, hip points toward your head so it's down. Arms down alongside of you, and bend your knees so shins are parallel to the ground. Yeah, and then feel your hip points, move up above your hip points and feel your core above there, your transverse abdominis. Poke it a little and it will turn on. It's a little, you'll just feel like, oh, there's a muscle there. Arms down alongside you. Inhale, bring right arm up and over your head. Nice and slow. Exhale, start to bring it back. Really bringing awareness to those transverse abdominis, that core we just touched. And then left arm. Inhale, bring it up. Nice and slow. The slower you go, you'll notice the more that it's activated, your core, and the harder it is. So this is kind of cool, like really low impact where we can engage our core without hurting our neck. Like how many times have we done crunches and it's more about our neck than anything else? Yeah. If you're liking this, stick with this. If not, another thing that you can do is inhale, touch right toes down to the ground, keeping that low back on the floor. Exhale, bring them back up. And just play around. Slow is the way you want to go. And your brain will be like, no, I need to do these fast to get something accomplished. But that's not true. It's lying to us. But yeah, just nice and slow. I like to do arms sometimes if my hips are especially tight and sore during this. Both of them are equally effective. And whatever it means to you, go ahead, finish up that round. When you're ready, hug those knees in, rock side to side, just release all of that we've done. And then go ahead and bring feet to the mat. Knees in the air, feet a couple inches from your bottom, arms down alongside of you. Inhale, lift hips up, bridge pose here. Option if you want to kind of tuck shoulders underneath a little bit, you can clasp hands underneath or not, keep them down. Just lift hips nice and high. Yeah. Stretching out core that we worked on, and then exhale, slowly lower. Awesome. If you can, grab your block. I'm going to try to grab mine with my feet. Bring it closer to you. Should have told you that before you laid down. Sometimes I forget where we're all going. So we're going to put that between your knees. Yeah. Awesome. Check with your head. Check that your chin is tucked a little bit so you're lengthening the back of your neck so you're not compressing there. That's often where we can bring tension, and if you need to, just shake head no a little bit. Perfect. Here you're going to inhale. You're holding block, pillow, whatever it was. If your pillow's folded, if it needs to be, or just one way, you're holding it still, but you're going to inhale. Feel like your legs are pressing away from each other, but don't drop whatever it is you're holding. And then exhale, squeeze, and squeeze. As you squeeze, also engage that pelvic floor. See if you can make it feel like that elevator is coming up again. And inhale, release, pelvic floor lets go naturally. Legs feel like they're away from each other. It's not so much of a movement of they just relax. So your pelvic floor can relax all the way. And then exhale, squeeze, pelvic floor engages. And it's this practice of activating and letting go. You could just continue that with breath. Yes, it's subtle. Yes, your mind is going to be like, am I even doing it? I promise you are. It's just getting used to work doesn't always have to feel like we are running on a treadmill or a hamster wheel. And don't feel like I need to do this right or whatever. Just play around with it for the sake of getting to know your body and getting to know what works for you. Beautiful. Go ahead, remove that block. Set it aside. Hug those knees in. This time bring hands to your knees, fingers toward your toes, and bring knees nice and wide. Kind of like a happy baby. You can rock if you're like, ooh, it would feel really good and you want to wrap arms around the outside of your thighs, hands inside you can, or you can grab those big toes, bend knees, heels and feet are up toward the ceiling, knees are bent. Just play around with like what would feel good. Some days this feels amazing to go into full happy baby, and some days I'm like, ooh, my shoulders are not having it. So just choose what works best for you today. Awesome. And then bring feet together, knees together here, and we'll roll onto one side. We'll do one more little practice of pelvic floor with some movement and action. So we are going to set up for our modeling stage. If you've been to class, we've done this before. So bend your knees. Hips are going to feel like the top hip is going to feel like it's moving down toward your knee. So you're not sinking into this part that you're laying on. Yeah, and feet stay together here. Kind of relax them a little bit. And we're going to inhale here, and then exhale, lift the top knee, leg up, but feet stay together. Yeah, you know the drill. And then inhale back together. Now on the exhale and the lift, can you play around with activating the pelvic floor? And let me tell you, does it feel different lying on your side than it does sitting or laying down? Absolutely. It's much harder for me to feel this way. So if you're in that same boat, don't worry, you're not doing anything wrong. Just playing around with what How can I access this? Getting curious. We're not here to perfect this, but just kind of build awareness. Little side note, we're also building some nice glutes while we're doing this and strengthening this outer hip, which is nice because we don't move in this way a whole lot. We sit, we walk, everything right in front of us. Yeah. We'll do one more here. It's really hard for me, so don't feel bad if you're like, what the heck? We're gonna then roll over onto hands and knees. I know, usually we roll on our back, but we're coming to hands and knees. Wrap those shoulders down. Curl toes under, lift hips up and back for downward dog. Shoulders away from ears, push hips up and back. Pedal those heels out. We haven't done one of these yet today, so ease your way into it. And then find some stillness, and then inhale onto hands and knees, and then go ahead and roll over to the other side for our clamshells. That's the fancy name for our modeling pose here. So we can do it on the other side. So remember, top hip down toward that knee a little bit so you're not sinking into this bottom hip. Feet together. Inhale here. Exhale, lift, top knee, feet stay together. Engage that pelvic floor. Just play around with it. If your mind is telling you, you're not doing it right, what is wrong? Let that go and just know that, like, you're here to explore. Notice. Maybe one side is harder than the other. I definitely have a weaker glute and hip side. Yeah. This is so important, just our foundation. Everything we do comes from, you know, this strength. Often when we think of strength, we think of big muscles and big things that we have to do, but often it's a little everyday movement, little everyday muscles that we need to be strong to carry us through life. Perfect. We'll do one more here. Yeah, and then go ahead, roll, come on to all fours again, however that works for you. Wrap shoulders down a little bit here so you're pressing away so you're not sinking into them. Curl toes under, lift hips up and back for downward dog. Shoulders away from ears, you got it. Pedal out here, and then find some stillness and play around with, can you feel pelvic floor and core activated? Tiny whisper here. It won't be all out. We're not doing crunches or anything, but just play around with, can you activate them a little bit? Inhale, release. Exhale, activate. And then inhale, come on, down to hands and knees. Exhale, child's pose here. Yeah. Got to move my mic. Forehead toward the floor, or grab that pillow, put it in front of you if you'd like. Inhale, come on to hands and knees. Bring knees nice and wide if they aren't. Come down to forearms here. And just start moving those hips back and forth, circling, just playing around here. We just kind of did that strengthening of the hips. So this will kind of give them a little more space, a little release after that. Beautiful. Yeah. And then go ahead, come back onto hands and knees. Come down to sit on your feet here. If that feels okay. If not, you can sit regular. You can sit on pillow, block. You can stick a block even when you're sitting like this. Inhale, reach arms up. Clasp hands. Exhale, bend to one side. Shoulders away from ears. Just feel that stretch in that side body. Inhale, back center. Exhale to the other side. Yeah. Inhale, back center. Shoulders down, but reach up, kind of like opening this chest area. So maybe even bending back a tiny bit, but not from the low back, just a little bit, like with arms, maybe it feels like. Exhale, bring those down. Awesome. Move on to hands and knees once more. And just kind of put a core work into action a little bit here. Wrap shoulders down again, curl toes under, lift hips up and back. Shoulders away from ears, push hips up and back. See, play around with, can you feel your core a little bit here on that pelvic floor? Inhale, move forward to plank, drop to your knees if you'd like. Exhale, back to downward dog. Don't worry, we haven't warmed up our arms too much, so it'll be a little hard. Inhale, forward to plank. Option to put those knees down. Exhale, back to downward dog. Inhale, come down onto hands and knees. Exhale, child's pose. Yes, option 2, put forehead to the mat. Check in, where are you bringing tension? Maybe you shake your head no a little. Inhale, come back onto hands and knees. Cross feet behind you, come down to seated, and then go ahead and move down to lying on your back. If you have a pillow or a bolster and you want that nearby, go ahead and grab that. So lying on your back here, let's do a big long body stretch. We've done a lot with the center of the body here, so inhale, reach arms up. Legs nice and long, maybe play around with pointing your heels. What does that feel like? Or your toes. Make sure you're still breathing here. And then on an exhale, relax. Arms can come down. Legs can be comfortably wide, maybe a little wider than hip distance. Let's take a couple breaths here. Then if you would like and you want to move up, legs up the wall, feel free. If you want your block, you have your block, feel free to put your block underneath, top of your butt there. Lift hips, put it under or not. If you're at home and you've got a wall or a couch and you want to move up by that, feel free to do that. Some things we don't think about. This is a really kind of more relaxing pose, but it's still pretty active. Like you'll still feel core engaged a little bit. You'll still feel a stretch in your hamstrings if they're tight. So just play around and noticing that. Make sure you're still breathing here. If you're holding your breath, just exhale fully. Naturally, your body will do the rest. Take another couple breaths here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring those legs down. And check in with your body, get yourself ready for your little Shavasana practice. So final resting pose, if you want that pillow or bolster under your knees, or just anything that would be comfortable. If you're home, you want pillow, blanket, whatever would feel good, get cozy. And if you'd rather sit, please feel free to sit. You get to do whatever feels good to you. Let shoulders melt down into the ground or away from ears. Take tongue down from the roof of your mouth and leave a little space between your teeth. Bring awareness to your breath, specifically to belly, where you feel your breath. As you inhale, fill belly with air. And exhale, release. Do that again, inhaling, filling pelvic bowl and belly with air. And exhale, release. And bring awareness to the space of your spine here, the base of your spine, tailbone, even pelvic floor that we've worked on. And just kind of notice any energy or any just feeling here, just bringing awareness here. An important center, our foundation, our strength, our just feeling of safety and belonging. And then bring awareness a little above that to the space around your belly button, but even deep within your torso, in the middle of your body, that core, this area that holds us up and supports us in all that we do. Area that lets us know when we're hungry. Our area of creation. Area where we grow humans, if you have. Just both important, amazing spaces in our bodies. Bring awareness to your breath once more, inhaling, filling pelvic bowl, belly with air. Exhale, release. Do that a couple more times. Your own breath, your own time. And then let that awareness of breath go and come back to normal breath, just trusting that you're doing everything exactly as you need to be. And you can start to bring tiny little wiggles of movement to your fingers and toes. Slowly turn your head from one side to the other. On an inhale, reach arms up above. Give yourself a long body stretch. On an exhale, bring arms down. If you're lying down, feel free to hug those knees in. You choose if you give them a hug or rock a little, massaging the low back. Just kind of check in with the body. If you're lying down, option to roll on to the side of your choice. And take a couple breaths here. And slowly make your way up to seated. Beautiful. Once you are here, grow nice and tall. And then soften the shoulders and relax a little bit. And maybe that means you shrink a little bit. That's okay. We are tall, strong, yet soft. And then bring awareness to pelvic floor, core area, about the belly button and below to where you're seated. And bring a tiny whisper of strength there. Not holding on for dear life, but just a little whisper. Beautiful. Inhale, reach arms up. Palms together. Exhale, bring thumbs down to the heart. Touch them right here. Bring a smile to your face and think of one thing you are grateful for today. One last smile to your face, and thank you so much for practicing with me today. Thank you.